نعم المشاهدون الكرام، الآن يتوجه الفريق أول سلفاكير مياردة رئيس الجمهورية إلى المنصة الرئيسية لإلقاء الخطبة بمناسبة الذكرى الرابعة لاستقلال البلاد، الخطبة التي انتظرها شعب جنوب السودان طويلا. نعم.
Please be seated. Your Excellency, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, and his accompanying delegation. Your Excellency, James Wani Iga, Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan. Honorable members of the legislature and executive, Excellencies, Head of the Diplomatic Corps, my fellow citizens, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know where to start from because we have taken long, but let me say that I'm privileged and happy to stand with you today again to celebrate the 4th anniversary of our independence. As the citizens of this country, it is always our duty to come together to recognize this most important day in our history. But before I continue to deliberate on what I want to say, let me first introduce to you our comrades and colleagues who were under detention and were first taken to Nairobi under care of President Uhuru. And then they have been moving around. Now they are here, those who have come. I would like them to get up so that they are seen by the people. Comrade Paganamon, and you have heard before that Comrade Pagan is the Secretary General of the SPLM. Comrade John Luke Job, where is he? And then Dr. Sirino Itang, Madud Ariel, Choltong Mayai. Who is the next? Oh, dia Chuang Along. Then Alor Chiba. Then Alor Eli Warakul, then you were not here. So then who has not come again? We are doing Ajak and Dr. Majak. Huh? Nyandeng was not a detainee. Kosti Manibe, is he around? Not yet. Okay, you are most welcome back, my brothers. As I said yesterday in the parliament, the chapter where you were arrested and detained, where you got the name detainees, has been closed. We have closed that chapter. Let us start a new page and let us go forward. We must stop very briefly to reflect on the sacrifices made by our heroes and our heroines, and so that we reach this place. They gave their lives so that we could live in freedom and prosperity. Today, we honor them by coming together in this great square as people of one nation, united for peaceful South Sudan and prosperous state of South Sudan. May we stand for a minute of silence in commemoration of our martyrs that we lost during the struggle, including our chairman, Dr. John Garang de Mabior. Thank you. Please be seated. Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, I take this opportunity on behalf of the people of South Sudan to welcome all of you to Juba and to thank you for accepting our invitation to come. It is indeed our honor to have you among us, Comrade President Museveni. Your presence signifies your support to this young nation, and we appreciate all your solidarity. Fellow citizens, I take this opportunity to congratulate you on this 4th anniversary of the independence of our country. I'm also very delighted to take this opportunity to thank you and acknowledge your support and patriotic stand always on the issues of your nation since the beginning of our long journey, of our long struggle until attainment of independence. We gather here today as a reminder of what we experienced here in this great square 4 years ago. On this day in 2011, we stood together, united and joyful in this square as we watched with pride our flag being raised for the first time. You will recall that there were great emotions, the great emotions that filled our hearts as the flag slowly made its way up to the top of the pole. As it reached the top, a mighty breeze came through and our flag waved majestically in the skies of Juba and all other parts of our country. Today, as our country is going through crisis and senseless war caused by a coup d'etat and the rebellion, it is indeed a time for us to recall that jubilation and the significance of the moment. It was the day in our own lives when we realized that our liberation struggle was over and freedom with liberty was achieved at last. It was the day we turned the page of injustice and inequality over and began a new chapter of high aspirations for building a prosperous nation. It was the day we stood together united as one people, watching our beautiful flag rise with our hopes and dreams for this great nation. Today, I want you to revisit the significance of that moment, the same vision and spirit that kept us together throughout the decades of struggle must now be revived. Today is the opportunity for a change, a new beginning of forgiveness and embracing one another in order to move our country forward. As the theme of this 4th anniversary of independence is Together for a United and Peaceful South Sudan, if this is the theme, there is no room for revenge, as it was said by Archbishop before. People have to think for how to forgive one another. Recently, I urge you to join hands with me to stop this senseless war and work together for peace, reconciliation, and reconstruction of our country. Recently, our comrades, used to be known as FDs, former detainees, returned home as a result of the implementation of Arusha Agreement. We received them back home and we reinstated them in their previous positions in the SPLM. Fellow citizens, our great African icon, late Nelson Mandela, once said, "There is no easy walk to freedom anywhere, and many of us will have to pass through the valley of the shadow of death again before we reach the mountaintop of our desires." Indeed, there is no easy walk to freedom. You yourselves have seen it. Since our independence, we have encountered many challenges at our borders, including the shutdown of oil production, austerity measures, that coup d'etat and the rebellion. Despite those challenges and hardships, you continue to support your government. We stood together and declared that while we may be young, we were ready to take our place among the world's nations and defended the sovereignty and pride of our nation. Our unity and unconditional love of South Sudan sustain us through the decades of liberation struggle until we achieved our independence. Towards the end of 2013, we once again found ourselves in another valley. This valley was totally different from those valleys we had in the past. This time, we created our own valley through misunderstanding, poor performance, corruption, tribalism, hatred, and aggressiveness. The mistakes of few among us affected each and every one of us, and the impact was felt in every corner of South Sudan. Innocent lives and properties were lost. Our farmers in the greater Upper Nile were and are still unable to cultivate freely. Our children in that great region lost almost 2 years of education. The little infrastructure we had in Bor, Malakal, and Bantu were destroyed. Our economy faces extreme inflation, and the cost of commodities continues to rise. As your president, I do hear your cries for peace and stability. I know you want to support your families, move freely in your country without fear, and go back to business as usual. As you know, I haven't rested. And I think I will not rest until peace is achieved in South Sudan and have smiles back again and jubilation. My government is committed to bring peace back home. Peace that will be in the best interest of everybody over South Sudanese. Peace that will not leave out others or marginalize certain areas or regions of our beloved country. Peace that is not imposed on us by others in order to divide us. The peace we want is a just peace that must be owned by South Sudanese themselves. Fellow citizens, I want to stress here that while formal negotiations will continue to go on in the African regional mediations, we must also continue to have internal dialogue among ourselves. As citizens of this nation, you are the primary stakeholders, and we welcome your voices and views. And I think you saw yesterday on the TV that there are some generals from what is called SPLM-IO who have come back to Juba. denouncing what they were doing, and they have come. So in this way, we will be able to make peace by ourselves. We appreciate the role of faith-based groups in search for peace and stability in our country. We are also encouraged by the initiatives made by the civil society organizations, women and youth in IGAD peace negotiations. I urge you to work in partnership with your government, engaging, clarifying, and ensuring that we move together united for the quest for peace in our country. Dear citizens, due to the current crisis in the country, our parliament made a righteous decision some months ago to extend the tenure of the current government for 3 years. This was not done in violation of our supreme law, but was done within its provisions and context in order to give peace a chance. This extension was not done for no reason. It was done to give peace a chance. It was also done not to allow a constitutional vacuum in our country as we search for peace and stability. Be assured that our strategy for the next 3 years will culminate into peaceful, free and fair elections with participation of everybody, everyone freely. Fellow citizens, during the next 3 years, we must work together to stabilize South Sudan. The strategy of my government in regard to this, to peace and stability includes 3 major goals: immediate, mid-term, and long-term goals. The immediate priority is to relieve the suffering of our people. This government will continue to engage in all activities that will bring peace back home, as well as improvement of the security generally in the country. This will enable us to work to increase food production and provision of clean water and medical services to our vulnerable citizens. This will also ensure that our displaced population will be able to settle, and those who sought refuge outside the country may return home. As we have been receiving many people who took up arms against the state, I call upon the rest in the rebellion to join us in order to save the lives of our innocent civilians and their properties. Also, I appeal to them to allow humanitarian access to the needy people in the countryside without any hindrance, and to ensure that the safety of humanitarian workers is important, because there are so many accusations coming from the NGO circle that they are not given access to reach the people who are vulnerable. This thing must stop. If it is from the armed forces, if it is from whoever, that person must be told today that he is doing things unconditionally wrong. I also urge the rebels to respect and comply with the cessation of hostilities agreement so that we could expeditiously reach peace agreement and stability. To our brothers and sisters who continue to take shelter at various UN protection sites in the country, I want to tell them that they are my people, and I have heard your voices, because the UN sites are not the best place for your living. You come out and join your brothers and sisters who are outside. All of you who are in the UN camps, whether in Juba, in Wau, in Malakal, in Bantu, or in any other place, were the people who voted for me during the elections of 2010. And nobody would always, want to lose his vote. You are my votes. Should people go back tomorrow for elections, I will still come to you if I am contesting. I beg you once again to come out from the camps and join us in the quest for peace and stability. This country belongs to all of us, and it is our moral obligation to care and do more for it, considering the sacrifices we made to achieve it. In this juncture, I must thank and appreciate the UNMISS and our African and international friends for their roles of mediation, including humanitarian assistance to our people. In the midterm goals, we shall begin to introduce and execute reforms across various government institutions, including the party. Your SPLM ruling party is fully engaged in the process of reunification and transformation. I believe that in order to move forward, we must face the challenges within the party and work together to rectify them. Of course, we cannot say that, we are the leaders and we don't want to change. When you want to account our major goal after the realization of peace and stability in the country is to conduct elections within the extended period. By that time, you will be able to elect your leaders in a fair and free process. We also expect to complete the constitutional review process within the time frame and conduct a referendum where we shall adopt the provisions of our permanent constitution. My dear citizens, I hear your complaints and hardships facing you about high rocket prices of food items and other commodities in the market. I always know very well that your earnings in terms of salaries and wages are not meeting the standard of living today in Juba. Having mentioned little about this economic situation in our country, I have directed the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, together with the Central Bank and other line ministries and institutions, to come up with immediate and long-term solutions. I would like to inform the public that the principle of zero tolerance to corruption will never be a slogan, but the reality. Recently, I issued the presidential decree or decrees dismissing some officials who were in abuse of letter of credits, LCs, and didn't perform well in their places. Those are abuses. Well, those who are abusing public offices will not only be dismissed, but will face justice. Your Excellencies, I just want to conclude by thanking you once again for your coming in solidarity to participate with us today in this important occasion of our independence. I would like also to reiterate to you my firm position and commitment to peace, for peace in this country. I am sure you are all know how much we paid as a nation to achieve our independence. We lost millions of lives, and our own golden ages of youth life in the jungles to achieve our freedom and independence. I believe that the best honor and recognition to our long struggle and the souls of our martyrs who departed us in the course of this nation is to live in peace and develop our country. I assure you all that I am for peace and will always be for peace, not only in South Sudan, but also in our region and Africa at large. Thank you very much all for listening. May Almighty God bless South Sudan and Africa. Happy Independence Day. Thank you.